Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Neha Hamilton, and we are covering the subject for search engine optimization. Today's lecture agenda is to make you understand a very important component of search engine optimization, which is on page optimization. So, we have already understood what is search engine optimization. It is basically the process of increasing the organic ranking of a website and this we can do through a process that we have already discussed. We know the process on how to increase or how to go about it when you want to increase the organic ranking of your website. Now we have also understood that search engine optimization has basically two parts. The first part is called as on page optimization, and the second part is called as off page optimization. So, search engine optimization is actually a mechanism where two phenomena work together to make it work. Now, what are these two components that should go hand in hand, that should go perfectly together so that SEO overall as a process works good, right? So, these two components are on page optimization and off page optimization. If you do successfully on page optimization and successfully off page optimization, then overall your performance of your website on search engine result page is going to increase. Or, in short, the organic ranking of your website is going to increase. So, today's class is very important class because today we are going to discuss some technical aspects on page optimization. As we are clear and we know that on page optimization is actually a combination of those things which are mostly visible to us. So these are the on-page factors that you should draw in your copies, make a flow chart, a diagram, or write these points in your copy so that you never forget that these are the four basic components of on-page optimization. If you are rating good, if you are rating nice in all these four factors, then you are definitely going to do on-page optimization successfully, right? So I hope you have understood the thing that I wanted to convey, that today we are understanding on-page optimization, which is one of the component of SEO. The other is off-page optimization that we are going to cover in the later classes. But today we are going to understand that how do we do on-page optimization? What are the actual factors that we should work on if you want to improve the organic ranking of your website? Okay, now what are those? These are the four factors. Just remember them, write it down, and try to learn these four factors. The first is technical optimization, the next is content, design, and internal links, right? So these are the four things that we have already discussed in the past class when we were studying SEO process. So at that particular time when I was teaching you on-page optimization, I have given you introduction of on-page optimization, and I have told you that there are a lot of things which are important in on-page optimization, which we are going to learn in detail in today's class, right? So we know that title tag is part of on-page optimization, image is part of on-page optimization, header tags are part of on-page optimization, content is part of on-page optimization, internal linking, how your web pages are internally linked to each other, sorry, they are part of on-page optimization. The things which are new to you is something which is technical optimization. So what is this technical optimization we are going to understand? Rest, you know what is content. Design is actually website design, right? Design is how your website is designed, how well organized your website is, how systematically pages are arranged in your website. There should be a system when you arrange your web pages, sequential system. For example, you should be an introductory page, then you have a main content, and then you have conclusion. These kind of things goes like this. So content design is something that is again part of on page optimization. And then I have told you that internal linking is also very important. Why internal linking is important? Because first of all, we want to increase the traffic on all the pages of a particular website. For example, if one of your pages is getting the maximum traffic, then we want that traffic to distribute all through your website, right? You want all your web pages to be connected to that particular web page which is getting the maximum traffic. So internal linking is important that way. Point number one. Point number two is you are giving more scope to the crawlers to go to all the web pages, because crawlers, they move from one page to another through hyperlinks, right? And that's what internal linking is all about. You are internally linking all the web pages together so that crawlers can reach up to all the web pages, right? Crawlers can notice all of your web pages. They should not only go to the pages which are of good quality, on which you are getting highest traffic, right? But if you are connecting those pages to the other pages also, then the probability of crawlers going there, it increases, right? So these are the 4 points. I hope you have drawn in your copies or you have learned these points. Okay, now let's watch a tutorial on page optimization. I have given you an introduction of on page optimization, and here is okay. So basically, this video is very long, so we will be watching just top 5 minutes, starting 5 minutes of this video. I will be sharing this slide with you. So whenever you get a free time, uh, you can watch this video and gain the complete knowledge about this.
Over on-page and technical SEO. So I hope you guys are really excited because if you don't make the right changes and adapt your site to Google from a code perspective, you're not going to rank well. And that's what I'm going to teach you today throughout this lesson. We're already in week 2, and as I mentioned, we're going to be going over on-page and technical SEO. I'm really excited for week 3 because that's where we get into one of my favorite parts, which is content marketing. But for now, let's go over the technical SEO. Everyone knows that linkable content wins, right? The more people that link to you, the easier it is for Google to find your site and the higher that you're going to end up ranking. And there's many types of links. That's links other sites linking to you, as well as other pages within your site linking to other pages within your site as well. When you're going through your site and you're optimizing for Google, there's many factors that you need to look out for. But before I go into each of those factors, let me first show you how Google sees your website. I want you to go to Browse SEO and put in your URL. This will show you how Google views your website. What you'll see is all this code and text. That's how Google looks at your website. They don't look at your website in a pretty user interface or a pretty design. They don't see any of that. What you're seeing on the screen is roughly how they view your own website. Now that you know how Google views your website, let's go into the 10 main elements when it comes to on-page SEO. The first one is titles. You know, whenever you do a Google search, you'll see this purple or bluish text at the top, then a green URL, and then black text underneath. The text at the top is titles. That's your title tag. The middle one, the green, is your URL. Of course, that's the URL of your website or your web page. And below that is a description. That's called a meta description. The title tag impacts clicks. If everyone does a search on Google and clicks on the second listing instead of the first listing because the text in the title is more appealing, what do you think that tells Google? It tells Google, hey, everyone finds this second listing more relevant, so let's move it to number 1, and let's move the original one that was ranking at the top back down to number 2. So you want to make your title super appealing. And an easy way to do this is you put your keyword close to the front because someone's typically searching for a keyword when they're on Google, and then you add a modifier towards the end. A modifier is words like buy, guide, review, online, offers, cheap. Sometimes you can even include the year. Updated in, and then you would add the year. And we found that when you add the year, especially for detailed guides, it drastically increases the click through rate. The second element that you need to look at is headlines. David Ogilvy always said that 80 cents of advertising campaign out of a dollar is spent in the headline. And it's true, headlines are super important. A quick stat for you, 8 out of 10 people will read your headline, but only 2 out of 10 people will click through and read the rest of your copy. So if your headline's not good, you're going to lose them and you're going to miss the main opportunity to get people to your page.
Right, so this is a great video in which you will get a complete guide on on-page optimization. We have seen those 10 factors. We are going to cover all those 10 factors in the coming slides. So this is a tutorial right here for you. You can watch it. After that, we are going to start with the first step in on-page optimization, which is called as technical optimization. Now, when we talk about technical optimizations, we have divided it into three areas. The first is called as server speed, the second is called as source code, and the third one is called as IP address, right? So, when we talk about technical optimization, we are talking about something which is called as server speed. So, basically, a server is a host computer which provides you the connection of internet. It can be a hardware or it can be a software that gives you the access to the internet. The host computer that is called as server. So a server speed is very important. If your server is overloaded with traffic, then maybe the speed of the server is very low, and in turn, the server that is showcasing your website can slow down the loading speed of the page. So server speed is very important when we talk about technical optimization. As website load times are considered by search engines as a part of their evaluation for ranking purposes, speeding up server response time is important part of on-page optimization. So server response time is something that you can assess through a online platform, and that online platform is called as developers.google.com. Okay, so if you got an idea of the URL of your website, if you have URL of any website, you can analyze the page speed, page loading speed of that particular website. So what is page loading speed? Once you click on a search engine result page, how much time do a user gets to be landed on that particular web page, right? How much time you are taking to land up to that particular web page, that is called as page loading speed. Okay, so I have typed the URL of www.canva.org, and let's find out that what is the page speed insights is telling is that what is a there is some error coming up, so let us go for some another website, maybe. Okay, so I have entered another website which is www.nika.com, and on the page speed insights it is only getting 39 points out of 100, right? So here you can see that if you are getting somewhere between 0 to 49 marks, Then you are in the red zone, means you are there's a warning for you. You are below average when it comes to server speed. If you are scoring somewhere between 50 to 89, you are a average page. And if your server speed goes from 90 to 100, so that means you are in a your page performance is excellent, right? So some technical terms are given over here. We cannot definitely understand these points, but whatever data is coming, you can see that, right? All the pages that are visible to you, the snapshots of those pages are given, and the suggestions are given here that reduce the initial server response time to 0.81 second, properly size images, and unused JavaScript. So these are the three things that you should incorporate in your programming so that you can reduce the page loading speed, or you can reduce your server response time. So what is the first suggestion? Reduce the initial server response time. So whatever server, maybe they have to add some more memory to the server to improve the performance of the server. Properly sized images means maybe the kind of images they have used is impacting the page loading speed, right? Sometimes you upload very high quality images, high pixel images, that takes a lot of time to download by the users. So that also impacts your page loading speed. Next is reduce unused JavaScript. So maybe the programming is written in Java, so they want to reduce the codes which are not useful, which are you know which are unnecessary, undesirable, but still they are written. If we may delete those JavaScript undesirable or unused JavaScript, maybe the loading speed can be improved. So through this online platform, you can understand how to reduce your page loading speed, which is the first aspect of on-page optimization. You want your page to reduce to load as fast as possible, and this totally depends on your server response time. If your server has a good quality, if your server has high memory storage available, if your server is not loaded with a lot of traffic, then it should respond faster, right? You can check the server speed or page loading speed through these online platforms, which can even tell you the steps, the improvement steps that you should take to reduce your page loading speed. Okay, so I'm stopping the share now and I'm going back to the slide. And what are we studying? We are studying the on page optimization. And the first step that we have covered till now is technical optimization, in which we have covered the server speed. Okay, so I have checked on page speed insights, and this is the screenshot. I have seen a score of 60 for GyanVihar website, which means the page loading speed is good, the servers are working good, and whatever suggestions are there, you can find it out. Likewise, you can find it out for any website. If you have created your own website, you can check your page loading speed. So once you are clear, once you get a go from the page loading speed, you come between a criteria of 90 to 100 that we have seen in the past slide. See here, it is 90 to 100, which is a green zone. So your uh, goal, your target should always be to get a score above 90 on page speed insights. If you're getting a score of like 60, 70, you are average, you are good to go. Still, do the changes that they are suggesting you. Try to improve the page loading speed. Next thing that we have to do is source code, right? Now, what is source code? An efficient, first let us understand what is the meaning of source code. Source code is a list of human readable instruction that a programmer writes, often in a word processing program where he is developing a program. The source code is run through a compiler to turn into a machine code, also called as object code, that a computer can understand and execute. So, what is called as source code? Source code are those codes which are written by human beings or which is written by a programmer on a Word file, right? Now that Word file is fed into a compiler, which is a computer system that transforms that source code into machine code. Now, what is this machine code? Machine code is something that computer can understand, that machine can understand. So that's why it is called as machine code, right? So I hope you have understood the concept of source code. So what is source code? Source code are the instructions or a set of programs that a programmer writes, and they feed that code into a compiler, and that compiler, which is a computer, it turns the source code into machine code. Now, what is machine code? Machine code is a language which is readable by the software or computer. That is called as machine code, right? So, computer, if you feed the machine code, the machine will read and execute the orders which are given by source code, right? So it is for orders execution by the machine. We write a source code, we feed that source code into a compiler. That source code is converted into machine code, and machine code is something that the system can understand, the machine can understand. Now, what to do with this source code? Once we have understood the concept of source code, what to do with it? An efficient source code can contribute to improved website performance. Superfluous functions or code sections can often be removed, or other elements can be consolidated to make it easier for Google to index the site. So, this is something which is technical, but just you have to understand as a digital marketer that what is source code, and you should be able to write an efficient source code, right? Superfluous functions or code sections. Superfluous functions means those functions which do not have actual usage, genuine usage. So unnecessary programming should always be removed, which is just increasing the redundancy of data. But only when the very limited code should be written that can be executed properly. So clear your source code is more efficient. Your source code is your ranking is going to increase in search engine, right? So this is the second thing that we have discussed. So what is the first thing that we have discussed in technical optimization? The first thing that we have understood is server speed, right? Or the page loading speed. We have seen, sorry, that the page loading speed can be impacted by a lot of things. The first thing can be if you have uploaded those kind of images on your website, which are very high quality images, high pixel images. So the thing is that you can change it. You can uh, you can compress your picture, and then you can upload your picture. There are lots of online applications which are available through which you can compress your picture. Compressing the picture will not, sometimes it deteriorate your quality, but there are softwares that can compress your picture by minimal deterioration of quality. So this you can do. You have to improve the quality of your server, right? If you want to improve your server speed. The next thing that we have to understand is source code, right? So source code, we have understood that it is human readable language, programming language that we write, that programmers write as humans. They feed this human language into a compiler, which converts this human language into a machine understandable language, which is called as machine language, right? So that is basically called as source code. Now, what to do with the source code? The source code should be efficient enough. It should not have undesirable functions or code sections. If there are there in the programming, it should be removed as soon as possible, so that it makes it easier for Google to index the site. So high efficient your source code is, high effective your source code is, higher is the chances of Google getting you noticed, and higher is the chances that you are going to get a good position on search engine result page. Okay, so now I have a small video on technical optimization.
And today I'm going to teach you how to optimize your on-page SEO in less than 10 minutes. So I want you to first head over to ubersuggest.com or neilpatel.com/ubersuggest, whatever one, and type in your domain name. So I'm going to type in neilpatel.com, and you're going to see a report load. This is typically your traffic analyzer report. This shows you your overall organic keywords, your monthly traffic, your domain score, your backlinks. If you have a newer website, you're probably not going to see any data here, or even any rankings. But I'm not looking for you to look at this report or spend much time on it. Instead, I want you to go into the sidebar and under SEO Analyzer, click on Site Audit. Now, I've already ran my site, neilpatel.com. As you can see, it was ran recently. And you'll see an on-page SEO score. The higher this number, the better. It goes from 0 or 1 to 100. The organic monthly traffic, don't worry about this too much, because as you get more traffic, your numbers go up. And as you optimize your site, your numbers will go up. Same with your organic keywords and your backlinks. As you can see here, I scanned 150 pages. The tool can scan literally up to 10,000 pages, depending on what kind of account you have.
Okay, so we don't have that much of time to share the whole video, but I think uh, that was actually explaining about a website which is called as Uber Suggest. So I was trying to find out that website, and I think it is a paid version, right? So we cannot look down at that website and can take services because it is a paid website. So now let's go to the third point, which is called as IP address, right? So what is IP address? IP address is actually identity of your electronic device. Okay, it is identity of your digital device. It is basically a string of numbers that identifies a device connected to the internet or another computer network. Okay, so IP address generally looks like this, right? So these are some strings of number which are separated by dots that tells your identity to other network, right? Every computer has a different IP address. IP addresses are essentially the code that allow all devices. Now, what are the devices? Computers, mobile phones, servers, etc., to talk to each other via internet, no matter their location. Each of the number can range from 0 to 255. So an IP address must look like this. So this is a very important question from exam point of view. The examiner can ask you, explain IP address. Or if you are having an MCQ question, they can ask you that, what are the numbers uh, which are there in IP address. So you have to write down that there are 1 to 3 digit numbers which are between 0 to 255, which is separated by dots. Okay, so the things you have to remember is, I'm again telling you, there are 1 to 3 digits. You will somewhere find 1 digit, 2 digit, 3 digit numbers. And what are these numbers? These numbers are between 0 to 255, 255, right? And they are separated by dots. Every computer, every mobile phone, If you're using a smartphone, using an internet on it, a smartphone if you have, then it must be having a IP address. So you can go to your settings, you can go to the network settings, and you can easily find the IP address. You can find the IP address on your desktop also. You just have to go to networks, and then you have to go to device settings, and there you are going to find your IP address. Similarly, on your mobile phone, go on settings, and somewhere in networks or connectivity, you are going to find out your IP address. So this IP address is very important from on-page optimization process. So let us understand how. These can be used to find out, for example, if you have a bad neighborhood issue. Ideally, you should always have a unique IP address for each web project. This signals to Google and other search engines that the website is unique. Sometimes the IP address is shared by one more than one devices in a particular company. This is sometimes done by companies, right? So if you are doing that, right? If you are doing that, then Google can recognize you and can pull down your ranking. So owning an IP address that makes it easier to set a private SSL certificate, and we all know Google prefers website with SSL certificate. So what happens is sometimes you are a small organization, right? And you are sharing the IP address from a very huge organization, right? So what happens is that if you're sharing with a good reputed organization your IP address, then it is not going to affect your SEO. But a reputed organization is sharing the IP address with an unknown company with no online presence, with no good ranking on Google, may pull down your organic ranking, right? So it is important to have your own unique IP address. Now, Google has find out a system through which you can get a certificate if your company has your unique IP address. This certificate is called as SSL certificate. Now, what does SSL certificate tells you? SSL certificate tells you that you have a unique IP address. You have owned that IP address. Owned means you have paid money to the hosting company to buy that particular IP address, right? And then you get a SSL certificate. If you have a SSL certificate, that means Google is going to, prefer you ranking higher as compared to other websites who do not have SSL certificate. So having a IP address is a good thing. If you are, if you do not have budget to have your own IP address, if you are sharing the IP address with a neighboring company, right? Make sure that the company has good reputation, getting a good sort of traffic on their website, then only it is going to positively affect your website. Otherwise, because you are sharing your IP address with a non-reputed company, Google can pull down your ranking also. So IP address is something which is a very important part of technical optimization, which is in turn a part of on-page optimization, right? So these are the things that we have to keep in mind, right? So we were studying technical optimization in which we have studied what is server speed. We have studied that you can check out your server speed or page loading speed on page speed insights. You have two options. You can check your mobile speed. You can check your desktop speed also online, right? You have two options. Whatever score you get, you have to try to get a score from 90 to 100. Once you reach on that, then you go to step number 2, which is source code. Source code is a technical aspect that should be checked by an expert programmer, right? Whatever codes are redundant, whatever codes are superfluous, Whatever codes are unnecessary and undesirable should be removed. Overcrowding of programming should not be done. Crisp and clear and brief programming should be done, right? So that is called as source code. Next, we have understood IP address. Now, what is IP address? It is the unique identity of your digital gadget or your digital device, right? If you are using internet, if you are connected to a network, you can easily find out your IP address. And your IP address also impacts your ranking in search engine. If you do not own your IP address, if you are sharing the IP address with a non-reputed company, Google can pull your ranking down. On the other hand, if you are sharing the IP address with a reputed company, means you are connecting with a reputed company, then your ranking can go up on Google. Point number two, if you have a budget to have to own the IP address, then you can own it. You can buy it from a hosting company. If you buy the IP address, you are given a SSL certificate, right? Once you have the SSL certificate issued, then you are preferred by Google and your ranking can go high in search engine result page, right? Now the next thing that we have to understand is content. Now content doesn't only refer to on-screen elements like text and images, it also includes elements that are initially visible such as alt tags and meta information, right? So it is not just how your web page actually looks like. The small snapshot of your web page that is visible on search engine result page is also as important, right? So in that small, snapshot that we see on search engine result page, we can see a title tag. We can see a URL which is written from green color, and the title tag is written by purple or blue color, and then you have a black text, some two or three lines written in black text. So that is also important for search engine optimization. Not only your web page should have a good content, but the snapshot that you are adding on the search engine result page should have a good content too. Okay, now let's talk about text. The aim of text optimization should be to create a text which is not only built around one keyword but covers term combination and entire keyword clouds in the best way possible. So I have told you that you have to go on Google Trends, and it is not necessary to use a single keyword for a single content. You can use a combination of keywords in a particular content by giving subheadings, giving subheadings like H1, H2, H3 tag that we were talking about. So this is how to ensure that the content describes the topic in a more accurate and holistic way, right? So if you add a combination of keywords, then more probability of getting different type of traffic will increase, right? So if you are writing a recipe on chocolate cake, right? See, I will show you how to find it on Google Trend. Just give me a second. What do I mean by using a combination of keywords? That is what I am going to show you. It is taking a bit time to download. So till the time this is downloading, let us cover the rest of the content. Right. So we were talking about content, and we have seen that in your content, title tag is important, meta description is important, H1, H2 tags are important, right? Whatever is visible on the search engine result page is important. Now let's talk about title tag. Title tag define the title of your web page. They are mostly used to display preview snippets of your web page. Preview snippets means preview of what they are going to read when they click on a particular link. When you are writing on your title tag, it should be short, it should be clear, it should be descriptive, but don't duplicate the content from the page content, right? What is the ideal length? It should be between 50 to 60 characters. If your title tag exceeds 60 characters, Google will only show the first 60. So you have to make sure that whatever title tag you're writing in programming, you should count it, and they should be between 50 to 60 characters. If they are more than 60 characters, the full sentence will not be visible to the users, and it will be written like dot dot dot, right? Full sentence will not be visible. So this is how your title tag is going to look like if you don't concise the title tag within 50 to 60 characters, which is very important, right? So here in the first diagram, sorry, the first point, you can see that my ultimate guide on how to start a blog and dominate what, right? So he has not concised his title tag within 60 characters. That's why it is not completely visible, right? On the other hand, see the second and the third example. Here the title tag is completely visible. Once you see the title tag, you read it fully, you are satisfied that okay, this is going to answer my problem, and you click on that particular web page, right? If I have option of these three web pages, I will definitely skip this one because I cannot read what he's trying to say, right? And I can read this, how to start a blog, how to start a successful blog today, right? These both are good. So I may click on the second or the third result instead of clicking on the first result. That's why the character length is very important. So you have to always remember the character length. What is the character length? The ideal character length is between 50 to 60 characters, right? Not less than 50, not greater than 60. If they are greater than 60, then you have to optimize it, you have to change it, you have to make it keyword rich, right? Blog is different, successful blog is different, blog writing is a different keyword. So you have to find out that which keyword to choose by using Google Trends, right? So I'm going to show in the next class that how you can use a combination of keywords to write a successful title tag and a meta description that is favored by Google, and that increases your chances of getting multiple traffic or traffic from multiple sources, right? So that's it for today. What have we covered today? We have covered today on page optimization. And in on page optimization, we have covered the first point, which is called as technical optimization. In technical optimization, what are the three things that we have studied? We have studied IP address, we have studied source code, and we have studied server speed. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm ending the recording now.